So the other unconventional approach is through desalination. And mainly, if we all know what desalination is. It's just basically a process of converting the seawater into potable water by, separating the salts that are inside the seawater. And the separation process is using the process of reverse osmosis as being the state of the art. That is the most common process right now, or via thermal desalination also. It's possible to just heat the water and then condense it back into pure water. But this has a lot of energy that is consumed, although this is also very energy intensive process, but it's very efficient. It uses a membrane, a reverse osmosis membrane, that 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 stand as a barrier between the salt water and the fresh water with the addition of applied pressure. This pressure is needed because there are a lot of different components inside the seawater. So if you look at the seawater here, most of the components or constituents are chloride and sodium. That's why it's NaCl is most of the component of the salts. And there are other minerals and some metals as well that are composing that seawater. So we need some pressure to enable to only allow the water to pass through and not the salt, right? So as a lot of water in the seawater, only 35 grams is there for 965 grams of water. So there's a lot of opportunity to get this fresh water out of seawater. And besides, we know that 90 almost 98% of the water in the world is ocean or seawater. So there's a vast resource for this one, right? The only maybe problem is the energy consumed or the energy consumption of the process. But then again, this is one of the better ways to make sure that you have water security in terms of water supply as well. More of this will be discussed in the next slides or the next lectures. What are the benefits of desalination? The desalination is a climate independent source. It means that we don't need to wait for rain. So usually at this present moment, our main source of water is coming from dams in Sydney, in Australia. We are dependent on the rain that are coming to the dams. And so once the dam level is too low, if there is no rain, that's why we are having some water problems. But if you have desalination, the seawater is always there. The water from the sea, the ocean is so vast that regardless of which season you are in, it doesn't matter. So you can get the source and you can just produce water any time of the day as long as you have the technology to do that. And also I mentioned it's not dependent to rainfall. That's one of the main benefits of desalination. And of course, it will ensure a water secured future for a specific place. The problem is the cost of desalination is still energy intensive. And aside from the cost, which is quite high compared to other technologies in the range of $1 to $4 per kiloliter or 1,000 liters, it is also contributing to greenhouse gases. The reason is, as I mentioned, we are using a lot of electricity, and most of electricity generation are based on fossil fuels, and so greenhouse gas emissions is as well is a big issue for this case. In terms of our Sydney desalination plant, at least some plants like our desalination plant in Kernel is actually offsetting these greenhouse gas emissions by buying some electricity produced by a wind farm somewhere nearby in New South Wales. So whatever green electricity generation at the plant is produced, an offset of the same energy is being produced by wind power. So there's an offset case. So at least in that way, more or less, it's not absolute that there is a green energy, but at least it's offsetting its electrical use. And also the other one that I mentioned is the large amounts of brine, the problem of discharge, and probably on getting more water from that brine solution is another case to study. So in terms of the way Australian view desalination, more or less the desalination technology is viewed favorably by many of the Australians. So for example, in this survey done many years ago, the question is if seawater desalination can provide a cost-effective source of potable water for Australian cities. So basically, this part here is strongly agree, and somewhat agree. So most of these are favorably saying that it's cost-effective, more or less. The other one is seawater desalination can provide environmentally sustainable source of potable water at Australian cities. So they are also agreeing with this sense of water production. And the last one is desalinated water can be treated and managed to a level that is sufficient for safe and reliable potable supply. And it's an overwhelmingly a high yes vote for this. It means that they feel like seawater desalination is very safe, there's no quality problems, and it's reliable as well. So if this is a very big contrast compared to wastewater reuse, because at least in desalination the source water is seawater, and which is relatively cleaner in its at water quality before treatment. So let's